Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video I will share with you how you can create this beautiful healthy bread using einkorn flour. I will walk you through the whole process from making levain to baking bread in a regular kitchen oven using a pizza stone. And first I'm going to create levain. I fed my sourdough einkorn starter night before. By the morning it was all ripe and ready to use. I already took some of it for my whole grain einkorn bread, and now I'm going to be taking 20 grams for this bread. So yeah, I took 20 grams of ripe sourdough starter, einkorn starter. I keep my starter at 60% hydration, so it's kind of like stiff. And then I added 10 grams of warm filtered water. I stirred it a little with my silicone spatula just to break it into smaller pieces, because my sourdough starter, like I said, kind of stiff, so it would be easier, a little easier to mix it with the flour then. And then I added my flour to that mixture. I took about 3 grams of whole grain einkorn flour, and the rest was all-purpose einkorn flour. Total weight of flour was 20 grams. I used same amount of flour as amount of sourdough starter because I wanted my levain to be ready in 4 hours. And then I mixed it all together. First I mixed with the spatula because this dough is very sticky, and when it was hard to mix it with the spatula, I scraped all the dry pieces of the dough from the sides of the bowl, dipped my hand into clean water, and continued mixing this levain into a stiff dough ball. And this is how it looks after all. I covered my little bowl with a plastic hat and left it in my proofer for 4 hours. I set my proofer at 75 Fahrenheit. And while my levain was proofing, I prepared all my ingredients. Basically, it's just a flour, water, and salt. I'm going to be using a little bit of whole grain einkorn flour, and most of it going to be all-purpose einkorn flour. So I took 50 grams of whole grain einkorn flour for 1 loaf and 450 grams of all-purpose einkorn flour, and weighed 10 grams of salt. I use pink salt, but you can use just regular sea salt. And then I prepared my water. I used filtered water, and for 1 loaf I'm gonna need 355 grams of warm water. I'm gonna warm it up a little because my water was cold and I want it to be at least 75 Fahrenheit. And here's my levain. In 4 hours it's kind of doubled in size, and I just want to show you how it looks inside. And yeah, look at this beautiful fermentation net, gorgeous starter. I added salt to my flours and fluffed it up, mixing well to combine both of my flours and salt. It took me a couple minutes. Then I added some of my prepared water into a bowl with my levain and mixed it up a little, just so I can pick it up from the bowl easier. I transferred levain into my flour mixture, then I poured the rest of the water into the flour and started to mix it with the spatula. This dough is very sticky at the beginning, so I try to mix it with the spatula as long as I can. And when it becomes too hard to use the spatula, I continue with this dough scraper, scraping dry flour from the sides of the bowl, from the bottom, so making sure there's no dry flour left. And then I continued mixing with my hand. I dipped my hand into water so the dough doesn't stick to my hand so much, but it's still very sticky at the beginning. It will become better later on, but yeah, at the first stage it's sticky and not pleasant. All mixing process takes just a few minutes. With einkorn flour, you don't want to mix the dough too much. It's very easy to overmix. So all I'm trying to do here just to combine my flour with the water, and that's pretty much it. And this is how the dough looks when it's just mixed. I cover it with the plastic head and leave it at room temperature for 30 minutes. On my kitchen it was about 72 Fahrenheit. In a 30 minutes my dough didn't show much difference. I tried to pull it, but it turned into pieces, so yeah, it was still not elastic enough. And I'm going to be doing my first stretch and fold. I pick up the dough from one side and fold it in half, and then I did the same from the other side. I'm constantly dipping my hands into water because dough is very sticky still. So yeah, I did from two other sides, and then I did another round of folds from each side. Then I covered my bowl with the plastic head and left it at room temperature for another 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, I checked my dough again. It was a little more elastic, and I'm gonna keep doing stretches and folds. And I'm gonna be doing it the same way I did it first time. Picking up the dough from one side and folding in half, and then the same from the other side and from two other sides. This time I did only one round of stretch and folds. I covered it with the plastic head and left it for another 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes I did my third stretch and folds just the same way as I did first and second. And you can see how I dip my hand into water less now, because dough is not as sticky anymore. Cover and leave it at room temperature for another 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes I'm doing my fourth sets of stretch and folds. First I do it the same way as I did before, and then I kind of flip it with the smooth sides up, just kind of making a little more folds. Cover and leave it at room temperature for another 30 minutes. And my last set of stretch and folds I'm doing a little bit differently. I pick up the dough from the center and let it fold. If dough sticks to the bowl, don't tear it, just let it go. Help yourself with a scraper and try again. Do the same from the other side and from two other sides. Trying to be gentle with the dough at this point. Then I covered my dough with the plastic head and left it on the countertop at room temperature for 2 hours. In 2 hours my dough was ready for pre-shaping. It had risen by 1/3 and had some bubbles on top. I sprinkled some flour on my countertop and also on the sides of the bowl and scraped the dough out. And then, helping myself with the dough scraper, I rounded the dough up into a nicely shaped, tight ball. It should look all smooth and nice on the top and sealed at the bottom. Leave it on countertop for 20 minutes. It is not necessary, but you can cover your dough with the bowl, protecting it from drying and also giving it a little bit warmer environment. After 20 minutes on countertop, my dough relaxed a bit and it's ready to be shaped. For this bread, I'm going to be using my round rattan basket, 8.5 inch. I usually cover my baskets with this cotton cloth, and this way I don't need to use flour. I sprinkle some more flour on my countertop, flip the dough over and help it to spread a little bit into a flat circle. Then I fold sides into the center, flip the dough over and roll it into a nicely shaped ball, sealing the bottom. Then I sprinkle some flour on top of my dough and transfer it into the basket, smooth side down. That's how it looks. Cover it with the fabric and then put my plastic hat over it, and I will leave it on my countertop for 20 minutes. It depends on temperature. If it's warmer in your kitchen, you can leave it for 5–10 minutes. And this is how my bread looked before I put it in fridge. I kept it on my countertop for about 20 minutes. So at this point, yeah, I cover it back and put it in my fridge for 12–14 hours till next morning. Next morning, after letting my dough proof in fridge for 14 hours, 12 to 14 hours usually enough for the Einkorn bread. So I'm ready to bake mine. I'm actually going to be baking 2 of my breads. They're going to be in different videos, but I'm just going to bake them at once because my pizza stone is big enough for both of them, so why not? And yeah, I already placed my pizza stone into my regular kitchen oven. I usually place it on a second shelf from the bottom. And I started to preheat my oven to 450 Fahrenheit. And usually with the stone, I preheat it at least for 40 minutes. And by the time my bread is ready to go to the oven, I will make sure I have boiling water to create the steam. For the steam, I use my very old baking pan and some kitchen towels. I just kind of like fold them, roll them up, place them into my pan like that, and I will make sure I have enough of boiling water to cover those towels completely. This will create a very nice steam for my oven. So right now my oven is preheating. When it's ready, I will score my bread and we'll start baking. And this is how my bread looks in the morning after being in fridge for 14 hours. I transfer it onto my prepared parchment paper sheet, folded in half, sprinkle some rice flour. It is not necessary, I just like doing it so my design looks better. I also like to use this rope to make my design more even. This is not necessary also. All you need really just to do main scoring that I will be doing at the end. I just like doing it. My oven preheated. I make sure that water is boiling and I'm doing my main scoring, just 2 lines across the bread. This is really all you need. All this design is not necessary. Okay, now it's ready to be baked. Okay, bread is in, baking. I will bake it with the steam for like 20 minutes at 450 Fahrenheit. Then I will take my baking pan with the steaming towels out and lower temperature to 400 Fahrenheit, and we'll let it bake for another 35 minutes. And look at this beautiful loaf of Einkorn, 100% Einkorn bread. Gorgeous. I just need to wait a couple hours so it cools down before I can slice into it. At the same time, I baked my whole grain Einkorn bread, and it's going to be in a separate video, and I will leave a link to that video in the description box. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please comment below. I'll be more than happy to answer and help you in your Einkorn journey. If you liked this video, please give your thumb up to support my new channel and subscribe, as I have so much more to share. You have a wonderful day. Bye.